Now, life is very much so unpredictable, and there's so many hurdles that can be thrown at us. Of course, we do have people who've come through and they've actually survived some of these hurdles. They become heroes within our community and within our society as they tell their story right here on Against All Odds. And today's survivor has come through from different forms of abuse, misfortunes, and everything that they've faced in life has thrown them a very much so hardship, life itself. But he is a survivor. He's come from being a victim and to being a hero as he tells his story. My name is Rachel Mwenyeheli, and thank you so much for joining me right here on Against All Odds. Today, we are joined by a survivor who has come through from being a victim. I would like to welcome Tatanda Malvin Kamumvuri, who is with us, and he's got a story to tell. Tariro, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you so much, Zimbabwe. Thank you so much, Against All Odds. I appreciate it.
Great. Now I understand you have a story to tell us, but we're going to start off with your upbringing. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up and how your life was, when it comes to your education to where you are now.
All right. So because of what happened to my mom and my dad when they were dating and when they were planning to get into marriage, I had to move from one family to the other. So my upbringing basically was just all about moving from one. I actually can count 7 school transfers of my primary school education. So you can imagine almost every year I had to move from one family to the other, from one school to the other. All of this because my mom had to move from one marriage to the other.
Okay, now you're talking about, what happened with your parents when you were young. I don't know, obviously from history, because I'm not too sure you'd remember. You said from when you were as little as less than a year old, is that it?
Yes, sure.
So from history, this is what you were told, that your mom and your dad had a misunderstanding and they weren't able to be together. Were they just in a relationship, or were they married and they decided to separate their ways? Were you the only child that they actually brought up in this particular setup?
So firstly, it was I was the only child in this setup, and my mom thought it was going to be a marriage, but then my dad had another wife with another family elsewhere. So basically, I was the only child, and there was no other way to handle this from my mom's side. She had to come out of that marriage, but it was a bitter kind of setup where she had to burn the whole house of property and everything. So it was quite bitter, and she had a real wounds from that marriage.
Looking from, coming out of this particular marriage, you said that you then had to move from one family to another in itself. How, from each family, was it because your mom was not able to take care of you or be with you at the time?
So she was still in school. She was doing teaching at Belvedere Teachers College. So she had to move from one from Kumusha. We used to stay in the rural areas from my mom's side. So she had to move from there and stay at school. I couldn't be with her, so I had to be with an aunt while she's finishing school. And then during that time, that's when she got into her second marriage. So after she finished school, she had to leave me there with my aunties and everything, because I'm sure I wouldn't know some of the things that we would be going through in her marriage. But I, from now understanding the adult life, I'm sure it was because maybe it wasn't conducive for me to be with her, as well as for her to enjoy the marriage, I'm sure.
So from all this history, where did you get this history from, the one that you're telling us today? Because I know as a child you will get to understand certain things as you get older, but at a certain age you still do not know what is going on. So where did you get this history from?
So from basically from parts of it from what my mom would tell me about it, because I was very inquisitive. I would ask questions. So then part of it from other relatives that we just been talking stories and maybe just for an example, people would call me Kamumvuri, which was my original surname, and I would get angry because I knew the person I called dad was called and with another surname. So I actually didn't want that surname. I didn't want my own surname for that surname. So I wanted, it was an identity crisis kind of setup. So this was how I got to know certain information about my upbringing and the earliest of my upbringing.
Did your father ever try to get in touch with you to find out where you were? Did he care about you at all?
I think from my knowledge of him in his last days, I think he cared about me deeply. I think he had issues, other issues rather than just care. But what I think was happening is from my time as I was growing up, I thought he didn't care because he never looked for me until I had to get into the streets for me to know that, to find out about my dad. So he didn't look for me. So I took that as not caring. I thought he didn't care for me. Until now, recently when he died in 2020, I'm sure, July 2020, due to COVID. That's when I realized, no, this guy cared about me, but I just didn't know. Maybe he started caring as I grew up, or maybe as I got in touch with him, as he knew me, maybe, but I wouldn't know. That's a story for his telling.
All right. Well, we are talking to Tariro Malvin Kamumvuri, and he is actually getting to explain to us his upbringing. Now he has more to share, because just as you heard, he talked about he moved into the streets, and we need to find out more about this right here on Against All Odds right after this. But remember, if you have a story to share with us, you can actually get in touch with us with the contacts that are appearing on your screen. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Against All Odds. And just before the break, we did hear the history of Tariro as he was actually explaining how he actually grew up and how he found out a little bit more about himself from family to family until he decided it is time for me to move to the streets. Now, Tariro, maybe if you can explain to us, at what age did you say, I'm now moving into the streets, and what pushed you into the streets as well?
Oh, so basically, like I said before, I was staying with my stepdad and my mom, and I felt my mom was trying to kind of like please my stepdad, or trying to consolidate the family. So she would go at length and at much length to actually instill discipline in me through actually beating me and everything. So these things happened. I didn't know at that time that it was kind of an abuse. Even if I felt bad, because afterwards she would cry and everything, but it was really painful because it was happening to me, because she would actually lock the door and put me in a room with her and actually begin to beat me. I've got marks in all over my body because of that. She would lock the door, rescue would come from neighbors and everything, and then they would come and try to rescue me. So this was kind of the abuse that was happening there. Besides just the feeling of just being left out, I just wanted to know my dad. That was the real and major reason why I had to resort to the streets. But it wasn't like I wanted to go to the streets. In fact, I actually was looking for my dad. So I went to Radio Zimbabwe in Mbare, and I was looking for my dad, and I was trying to get to some program on air somehow, so that maybe a friend or someone who knows him might actually connect me to him. But it didn't happen for about 3-4 days. So the security at the gates would actually let me out and say no. I was now looking dirty and everything, so I was now a street kid, like almost permanently within like 4 days or so.
So you said you moved over into the streets of Mbare. Is this where you were staying?
Yes, that's where I was staying.
All right, staying in the streets of Mbare, let's take a look at your life. How long did you stay in the streets? What was the time period at that particular time, as well as how did you survive? Because we're talking about someone who's coming from a home, who's got a comfortable home. Yes, it might not have been comfortable in the form of the abuse that you were facing from your mother, but we're now talking from a comfortable place to the streets, you sleeping there. How did you eat? What would you survive on? Where would you sleep?
Okay, so in Mbare, food is quite quite in abundance, but then you would have to actually eat from the beans, because there's an area called Mbare where farmers come in with their stuff, and there will be breakages and everything. It's not dirty food of some sort, but you can actually eat from it. Like avocados that are broken, fruits that are broken, and everything. So you can eat from there. So that's how we would eat. Then the other thing is, for main meals and major meals, there were ladies who were cooking. Those ladies who cook under trees and everything, who just provide food services around Mbare. Those were the ladies that I introduced this kind of approach, where I offered my services to just clean their dishes or to help out in one work or the other, and then they give us some leftovers, and we consume. So that was basically our main source of food. But we were doing this, when you go around picking up plastic bottles, and we would go and sell. That was actually one of the major source of income. But then the challenge is that we had the seniors who were lazy to pick up the bottles, and they would just come and confiscate the money after you have sold the item. So this happened for about, I would say, maybe a year or something. I can't really remember the dates, but it was quite a long period in the streets.
How old were you at this particular time when you were in the streets?
I was 12, turning 13.
Mm-hmm. And we've heard about the peer pressure that you actually get to find in the streets when it comes to staying there. Substance abuse, were you actually ever into substance abuse whilst you were in the streets at this particular time?
Yes, I was involved in that, but only as I was trying to fit in with the others. I would actually I walk around with my lacto, that paper tube with glue, trying to seem as if I'm sucking, but I wasn't going through. But everyone was doing it. Everyone, for you to actually survive the pressure of the streets, you've got to use. Everyone, it was just like that. You wouldn't survive without using. So there was a lot of peer pressure. There was a lot of trying to fit in, trying to match up with the others, trying to do like what others are doing.
All right. And you said you'd pretend.
Yes.
And this was your life in the streets.
Yes.
On a day-to-day basis. Did you feel like, this is where you belonged, or you felt, someone should come looking for me? Did you ever think at any point, did anyone care to come looking for me to say, where is Tariro?
So at first, I didn't feel like I'm part of this, but it grew into me. I began to feel at home, and I began to actually be comfortable in the streets, because I didn't expect anyone to. I think, in fact, I was young. So when you're young, you don't really consider certain things. They don't really strike you. You just live, and I was just carefree. All I wanted was to find my dad, and it became a life for me.
All right. And any family member who tried to reach out to you, tried to look for you, because I'm thinking, you left home, you ran away from home.
Yes.
Someone has to be concerned to say, where is my child, or where is the child? Did any family member ever try to reach out to look for you, according to what you know?
You wouldn't really know what people were doing, and it was a story that I couldn't revisit to really actually ask my parents and the people that I was staying with during that time whether people looked for me or not. It was just like it happened, and it's a closed chapter.
All right. Well, there you have it. Tariro explaining to us how he transitioned from a comfortable home, although there was abuse, into the streets. When we come back right after the break, we're going to be getting into how he became a survivor from being a victim right here on Against All Odds. Remember, if you have a story you'd like to share with us, we definitely want to hear from you. Do get in touch with us on the screen. As you can see that there are numbers that are there. Do call us and we'll get back to you. We'll be right back after this. Back to Against All Odds, and just before the break we were talking to Tariro. Now we just want to do a little recap, Tari, so that we can get to understand your story exactly. From you finding out that your parents decided to divorce or not to be together, just when you're about less than a year or a year old, and then you having to move from family member to family member or different families, and then you finally then moving in with your mom, but she's now married to a different man, and we're the only sibling sibling at that particular time, or you now had other siblings, you know, from your stepfather with your mother?
So the setup was quite like I'm the only one from my dad and my mom, because once they had me, they left each other. So I now have siblings from my mom's side and siblings from my dad's side. So from there, that's where that's the people that I call family. But even when I was moving from family to family, other people would come actually not being sincere and actually trying to help me, but it wasn't help as such. I was actually going to be helping them in maybe in their adventures. Someone wants to be me to be their garden boy or something like that. I've got families where I had to stay and do the gardening, do everything, waiting for me to go to school, waiting for me to get a birth certificate so that I can go to school and everything. So this was kind of like a habit of some people trying to use me and exploit me. But I've got people who actually came through and helped me. I would mention people like Gogom Temeri. After I had a time with my stepmom, she was sick. I took care of her. So people actually felt for me, including my granny, which is Gogom Temeri. She really took care of me, put me into school. I helped with my birth certificate taking and everything. People like Gideon Kamumvuri, he taught me business, how to approach business and everything. I got involved in what he was doing, and he trained me. So these are the people that actually helped me. And of late, I can talk of Coach Tari, who took me in as well, taught me like the real lessons of life, how to handle relationships, how to handle money, and that's how I also became a pastor through that.
All right, so now we're fast forwarding, and now you're looking at the people that helped you. But just to backtrack a little bit, I just want to take you back to the point where you were in the streets, right? How did you then decide to say, I've had enough of the streets, I need to make something out of my life? What happened? What pushed you to want to move away from the streets? Or what made you go back home, if you did?
So there was this church that was just evangelizing in the streets. So I had to give my life to Christ, and I received Christ. They prayed for me, and there was a lady who gave me her jersey. I'm still looking for her, by the way. She gave me her jersey, the green jersey and everything, and I was like, oh, warmth. But then my friends in the streets, they wanted this jersey as well. They wanted to sell it, and then maybe we could get food or something like that. So I refused, and that night I slept at a different place than the usual location where we would sleep. So they came out in the middle of the night, like in the early morning, around 2 or 3. I can't really remember the time. So they came out and they wanted to kill me. I still have a mark here. That is one of the reasons why I keep my hair. So they struck me with different sorts. I was mugged in a way, and I tried to go to the police station, but I had blood all over me. But I couldn't be served. No justice for me. I just had to. I was a street kid. I didn't matter to anyone. So I went there. They chased me away as well. My street kids something like that. That was kind of the experience that I went through the night that I gave my life to Christ. That was the point where I said, no, I can't stay here for a long time. Let me go back home and let me try to readjust these things and actually do something with my life.
So after this incident, you're like, this is enough. I need to go back home. How were you received at home? Did you go back to your mother's house?
Yes, I did. I was afraid. I was deeply traumatized by my mom, to such an extent that even if she would raise her hand to greet me or something, I would think she's about to strike me. I would actually duck and hide, and it used to pain. But that was the kind of setup that I had. So I was really afraid of it. So I went through about I think around neighbors and everything, until neighbors actually had to tell my mom, I'm around. I think she had been looking for me of some sort. I wouldn't know, but I think she had been looking for me. So I was brought in home. She didn't beat me. By the way, I was actually shocked why she didn't, because I didn't really understand love. I didn't understand whether somebody loved me or not. I couldn't really pick. So I just thought, why is she not beating me? Because I was expecting to be beaten. So that's when I came home. I got accepted, and then I think she was already sick and ill. So she facilitated for me to get to know my dad and to get to know where my dad was.
So when she facilitated this, is this where you actually got in touch with your father?
Yes, I actually had to go to Chinoi, which is our hometown. So I went to Chinoi. He actually thought I was his brother's son or something like that. So he actually thought, no, are you Itai? I'm like, no, I'm not Itai, I'm Tariro. And then my stepmother remembered me. She knew, which is why we had a special relationship with Anna Zindoga Macharaga. I took care of her. We had this connection. She loved me like a mother. She treated me like a mother. She's the one who introduced me to the feeling of having a mother.
That being said, you went back, you got reunited with your father, you started staying with your father now, I presume. What was your relationship like? Was it good with your father?
It wasn't good. It wasn't good because my father was kind of neglecting my stepmom, and as well the whole family. He was actually neglecting everyone. He was busy with his own life. I'm sure, but I wouldn't understand exactly what was happening with him. He was an adult, I was a child. I couldn't really pick what was really the problem. But all I know is that at some point, the school had to come in to help me with school fees, to help me with books, to help me with all of that. Since he was a teacher, so they didn't want to put up a bad image about my dad. So they had to cover some of the expenses, and I was quite intelligent as well.
So you've reunited with your father, with your family. Of course, you're saying you had to come in and be a man, most probably, and also take care of your stepmother. But we want to take a look at how you became a survivor at this particular point, where you said, I'm no longer a victim, I am now a survivor. What then pushed you to be where you are today?
So basically, what pushed me to be where I am today, I would say firstly, it's God. And this life that I lived, it pushed me. I began to realize that it's for a reason. There's a reason. Actually, it was at a very later stage that I realized my life has got something, the quality of the experiences that I had gone through have something to do with my future. I'm supposed to speak something and inspire somebody that no matter where you're coming from, no matter what you've been through, you can always make it. You can always rise to the top. I began to do bands. I began to do, I transitioned, I began to do events, and now I'm doing events. I'm doing weddings, wedding entertainment. I've got a space in town. I run big things like big events. So because of that, I realized, no, my future had something to do with my experiences. There was a connection. And the kind of people that I'm working with there, we will almost have the kind of the same background. The people that I work with, my whole team, Tinema backgrounds are very bitter and everything. So, but we are making it. We are slowly but surely, one stone at a time, one brick upon one brick as we go.
All right, you are now an entrepreneur. Congratulations for you. We're so excited that you've managed to come to where you are right now, which is definitely exciting. But looking at your past relationships, your mother, how abusive she was towards you, your relatives, how abusive they were towards you. Obviously, when it comes to love now, it's a different game. Have you been bitter all your life to say, this is it, I'm not going to be involved in any form of relationship? Or are you thinking that you can actually get to start a family and love them the way they're supposed to be loved?
The thing, Rachel, is that I knew my mom loved me. No matter what the kind of experience that I had with her, there was just something that told me my mom had problems with my dad, and it spoiled her life. And I'm not justifying her, but I know she loved me. So regardless of the fact that she became abusive at times, I understand, and I understood love, that she loved me. Also, my dad at a later stage in life, as we were connecting, before he died, we had a sweet time. He made sure that he left a mark in me. So all of those experiences helped me to heal and to forgive these people, even if I knew that these things were not supposed to happen to me. So I've got an idea, and Coach Tari helped me now to, like I said, taught me things and the essence of life. And I'm in a relationship, and I'm married with my wife. I just actually went and paid lobola. She's a happy woman, and I'm a happy husband.
Oh, that is amazing. Well, you know what, Tariro, your story is definitely amazing, to tell you the truth, because you're coming from a place of abuse, and most people would be bitter if they were in your position. They wouldn't be able to forgive, but like you're saying, you've actually come to a point where you've forgiven, you've loved, and you're progressing. So that's definitely exciting. It is against all odds right here, and Tariro just explaining to us your story. We'd like to say thank you so much for coming through and explaining your story to us. We really appreciate it. Remember, you can always see light at the end of the tunnel, without a doubt. And if you have a story to share with us, would like to hear from you, get in touch with us with the contacts that are appearing on your screen. My name is Rachel Munyeheli, and until next time, this is Against All Odds.